Government unions versus private unions. Hi, I'm Michael J. Muccio, author of America's Battle for Free Enterprise, The Value of Incentive and Competition. Today we're going to be talking about Chapter 8, Protecting Government Workers from Breadlines. Now that's quite a title, and it does deserve some degree of explanation. You know, I'm just trying to get us to all start thinking about why government workers need a union in the first place. I mean, is our government acting so abusively toward its labor force that there's a need for unions to come along and protect employees from the government? I mean, the government pay package, when considering benefits, is consistently higher than the private sector. And it's the private sector, though, that pays for their higher pay packages with the very taxes that they pay. And I'm not the only one that's puzzled about government unions. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, himself very much for unions, says the process of collective bargaining, as usually understood, cannot be transplanted in the public service. Former AFL-CIO President George Meany also viewed government unions as unthinkable. Former Mayor LaGuardia and President Roosevelt both said they oppose collective bargaining by government employees because government employees enjoy market advantages too easily exploited. Now, all of these individuals, as I recognize the fundamental differences between private sector unions and government unions. And these are all people, as I mentioned, they're all for unions. Now, what is the benefit of unions? Do workers have a choice? Well, when unions started, they protected workers from unsafe work conditions. I remember my grandma telling me about my grandpa who came over from Italy, and he worked in the coal mines in central Pennsylvania. And there was a great need for unions to come along and protect workers from those unsafe conditions. So it caused management and labor to start working together on problems that needed to be kept more safe for the sake of the workers. However, today, the question begs to be asked, why has there been such a significant drop in private sector union membership to below 10%? That's pretty significant, of course. Well, today also keep in mind that more than half of all union members work for the government. What's the difference between the private sector and the public sector unions? Well, private sector unions must respect their employer's bottom line, whereas the government unions don't. All they do is they just raise taxes. Instead of, there's no bottom line because there's no competition for the government as there is in the private sector. It's wisdom for the government to employ mathematics and sound reasoning by common sense comparisons of what the free market is able to substantiate as far as pay and benefits. After all, it's the private sector, as I mentioned, that's paying for the government jobs. The only competitive measurement for government employees is to thoughtfully evaluate their pay grid in light of a comparable job in the private sector. And have you noticed how involved the unions are in politics? Why would that be? Well, it's quite beneficial for government unions to be heavily involved in the political landscape of various candidates, particularly those candidates that are on the soapbox for raising taxes, because the bigger the government, the bigger their pay and their benefits. Well, naturally, the somebody, as I mentioned, that has to pay is every single entrepreneur, small business, and individual non-government employee in the country. The private sector loses more and more benefits and pay in order to feed the appetite of government unions. Private unions shake their head in disbelief at the clear advantages of government unions. So once again, you can read all about it. I think you'll enjoy that chapter in this book. I think it'll make a lot of sense to you. So pick up your copy of America's Battle for Free Enterprise, The Value of Incentive and Competition at your earliest convenience. We'll be back with more in just a few moments.